Okay, folks, here we are once again. And I got a wild hair up my ass. Wonder how that saying got started. Some things are better not to know. And one of the things that's kind of unique, not unique, but well, maybe it is unique, but one of the things that stands out, at least to me, on a king tiger is these little loops that are on the roof. Clevises, loops. And they're basically so you can remove the turret. Maybe it's common on a lot of tanks, but on this particular tank, there's a lot of things that stand out as maintenance type things that need to be done. I don't know whether it's because of the sheer size of it or those sorts of things. But if you look at the back of the turret escape hatch, it actually has this rotating bar that it serves as an escape hatch and also a way to pull the 88 millimeter gun out, is the way I understand it. I think the Firefly had the same type of thing. It's just a barrel that's so damn long, or the breech or something, and to be able to access it in there. And the top of the turret of the King Tiger has these little loops, the cute little loops that are missing on this model, and I think need to be on there. And this sounds like I'm doing something that's a lot more anal retentive than I would have thought, but I think it's going to be a relatively easy fix that'll give pretty good results. I've never attempted to do something like this. I think it's within my abilities to be able to do something like that, so we're going to attempt it. And what we're doing is we mark where the little holes are. We looked at some drawings, and we're going to go ahead and drill these out. I did make some sprue, which miraculously worked. And we're going to attempt to put it through there, take some hot water, bend it a little bit, and then cut it and then put it in there and make 1, 2, 3 loops on there. I think it'll add a little bit of something to this model. Because I got some cool stuff planned for these tanks. I wish there were a better model of them, but they aren't. But we're going to make the best of it. And I don't know if I'm going to end up drilling through the spare track and putting a little piece of sprue so it looks like it's hanging in there. I think I'm going to wait to see how I get on. Well, there's a Britishism. How I get on with this and see if I'm happy with the results. So we've done that one. We're going to do the same one on the other King Tiger. You can see this one's got a green hatch. That's because I misplaced the hatch somewhere. I don't want to go looking for it. Anyway, just plugging along this morning, trying to get this day off to a positive start. And normally, if I was going to buy a model of a King Tiger, I wouldn't have bought these. Like I said, I just used the credit for it. It just keeps somebody saying, well, if you're doing all this work, why don't you just buy a proper model of the King Tiger? Well, first of all, I didn't know these things were such a piece of shit. Second of all, This is what was available in the credit from Noble Knight. So we've marked where they are. Put a starter hole with the end of the X-Acto knife. Actually, technically, it's a Pro Edge knife with a Nick Pro blade. So none of it is X-Acto. Cheap knockoffs, or cheaper knockoffs. And I hate this plastic. But with that said, it drills through it really fast. I was actually expecting more of a issue with that. But if there's any plastic that you ever need a pilot hole to start, it's this one. Because it's slippery as snot. Actually went across the entire turret with some fine sandpaper to make sure that some of these things had a better purchase on them. It took a moment. I didn't mind doing it. Sometimes those detail type things are actually relaxing. And sometimes they're just a waste of time. Okay, so we got all 6 little holes drilled. I don't know how this is going to work. They're small enough that I can fill them back in if I decide that this is way too much trouble than it's worth. Because all the added details are going to end up being on the turret, pretty much. So these are going to be like a couple tanks just got raced out of the factories and didn't have time for their tools and entrenchment tools and all that stuff to be put on them. So let me change, make sure. Good morning, painting along with your show this fine Saturday morning here in the UK. No fog today, huh? And I gotta go look through my spares box and see if I've got some tank commanders. I've got one guy that I pulled off here. One of these guys I'm gonna put in the turret. He doesn't have the right hat. I wanted this guy to be kind of a knockoff of one of the first guys that I came across watching war movies that I thought was really cool. And this tells you how impressionable kids can be. Is I never played any war games with anybody that was super fascinated with the Germans. The Germans were they were always cool because of their uniforms. I mean, nobody had them beat on their uniforms. And not every uniform was cool, because every army has crappy uniforms. Okay? The USGIs with their late 1943 pattern uniform is probably the best one that they had. You look at GIs like in late World War II, they got all kinds of accoutrement on them and pretty cool. But the US tankers uniform is terrible. It may have been really practical, it may have been really comfortable. It looked silly. It looked like, are they still stuck in this World War I mode of, making things get by? This industrialized nation couldn't have come up with something like that. It just doesn't look professional. Kind of like the Russian one. Just slap something on them and have them go about his merry way. But the German tank commanders, I'm not a fan of the little boots though, but And I'm actually not a fan of it all being black. It's kind of hard to paint, and it gets lost in there. But um, one of the watching war movies, one of the guys that I thought was always the character he portrayed that was just super cool looking was Robert Shaw as Hessler. Now Hessler was a warmonger and not a nice guy, not somebody you want in your family, but he still looked cool as shit. So I'm going to try to find a commander that looks like Hessler. This guy does not have. This guy has a. See, what do they call these? It's a brimmed hat, but I think it's called a peaked cap. I don't want him with a peaked cap. He's in a. Well, I've got a picture of him right here. I was downloading him, and it's funny. I watched that movie so many times when I was a kid. The first time I realized he didn't have blonde hair, I was like, what the, Remember, I didn't see it until like the early 80s. Yeah, he's got like just a little field thing. So I'm going to try and see if I've got a commander already. I think I do. I think my Panzer IIIs come with them, but my extra spares of the Panzer III guys. If not, we'll use this guy, and this will be Kessler or somebody. No, I'm not using an M47. That's ridiculous. Everybody, I'm a big stickler on vehicles in war movies, and that movie doesn't bother me that much. And here's the reason why. They didn't use an Israeli tank for the Germans. Okay, so that's a good start. That's just, you don't do things like that. That's no bueno. And the tank that they use for the Germans has a turret overhang. Okay, that's good, and is larger than the Chaffees. Does it have a lot of errors? Absolutely, but I watched that movie a lot as a kid, and I didn't grow up thinking that stuff was real. That one and Guns and Averham. Those are the two movies that I grew up watching all the time because they were on TV all the time. They were on TBS all the time. And I never understood that whole Bastogne response nuts. Like, I think a fuck your mother would have been better, or shove it up your fascist arse or something like that, than nuts. Like, you could have come up with something better than that. It's not even a correct response. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me. But everybody knows what that is. All right, let's go into uncharted territory here. Let's get that Nazi stooge out of here. Yeah, so that's the thing. When you're a kid, you're like, man, these guys look really cool. Who are they? And then you find out later, it's like, oh, they're like totalitarian stooges. F them, but they still are cool dressed, But you'll see posts on Facebook and stuff like that, and I see them all the time, where there'll be like some post about, and I don't know whether these are trolls, or I hope they're trolls and people don't really think this way, because this is pretty extremist. But they were, basically, glorifying the German veterans, and I get it. And some of them were just, they were just there doing their job. But there's a difference between, saying, hey, these guys were badasses, or they got a lot of kills, or but you're fighting for an evil regime, and these comments of like the true saviors of Europe, like, really? What? I mean, that's absurd. That's absolutely patently absurd. Like I was mentioning the other night, even if the Third Reich did not exterminate their own people, they still invaded other countries for no reason. They're still warmongers. So, they had cool, as you guys in Britain say, they had cool kit. And that's about it, and they were involved in, all these interesting toys that we like to build, but that's where it stops. I'm going to go get some hot water, and we can bend some of this stuff and see if we can put it in this Nazi turret. Be right back. Okay. Disclaimer. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. Okay? So, let me make sure. Yeah, live chat's on. Okay. Perfect. I didn't realize that comments were being edited if it wasn't on live chat. I don't want anybody's comments being edited. You guys can say whatever you want. If I don't agree with it or you start getting out of hand, you're just not welcome to come here anymore. It's never happened. So I don't expect it to actually happen. I may not have a lot of subscribers, but I've got some pretty civilized, well-rounded, you guys know how to behave. I mean, you've held a job for a while. I mean, I'm sure you can behave, in public, so. We don't have our usual type of gamers. There's a lot of sites on, let's see if this is thick enough. I think so. I think so. So I'm going to bend this in half. Now let's soften this up. It's not boiling water or anything. We're just want to make it so we don't break this bloody thing. There's a lot of sites where people just run their mouth. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They just say completely wrong things. And it's okay to say wrong things. But when people generally want to learn something, you're basically feeding them false information. And it's just, you got to go in and correct everything. And it's like, I guess you could just not care and just let people just go off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. But just super wrong stuff that would be easy to just look up in a moment. Just one search and you're done. I don't know that I'm going to be successful doing what I want to do. Is this not hot enough? Yeah, I think it is. All right, well, we got it where we needed to there. All right, let's try this. Oh, it's not open in the bottom. Damn it. That would have been pretty cool to just thread it through. Well, I'm going to try it anyways. Because in theory, let's make it a little bit bigger. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, now you're just being a dick. Oh, it flew off somewhere. I thought I held it down. Welcome to Mistakes Central. I'm just going to keep making mistakes, folks. I wish I was more perfect, but well, I think this Hindo de Washi works pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and drop it through here, and then we will bend it. Perfect. Now I'm a little concerned because the Tamiya cement doesn't work really well with this. I'm going to get them all in place. I'm going to drop a little drop. I don't care that it sticks out of the bottom a little bit. I'm pretty happy with that. And it's kind of a detail that needs to be on the tank. It's a very pronounced thing about the King Tiger. It makes it look better, honestly, those little loopies. Like my non-technical name for things. So what happens as you get older is you forget about these words that you never use in your vocabulary. You read them in a book, you know exactly what they mean, but they're just not part of your vocabulary on a daily basis. I was trying to think of pigment. I'm like, what is that stuff? The stuff the color is made out of, the expensive part. And it drilled all the way through the roof, so having it stick out of the bottom a little bit is actually kind of helpful. Kind of keeps the pressure on it. I think that worked really well. I like it when things, you think about it, I'm like, what should I do about this? And you have this theory, and the theory works. Because a lot of times it doesn't work. All right, I'm going to put my glasses so you can't find that piece that flew off. So the hot water ended up not being any use at all. Go figure. Now, we're going to cut another one of these. If we've got to make more, we've got to make more. I'm going to have to make more because some of this changes in thickness. And I don't want it too thick and I don't want it too thin. Don't think I'm building some IPMS model, but sometimes some details are important. They're, as I like to say, ubiquitous to a certain vehicle, and you kind of have to have them on there because they look like you're missing something if it's not on there. It's hard to pull off a model of a Tiger 1 and not have a little box in the back. When the back of the turret is completely round, it just looks wrong. All right, I'm gonna snap a picture of this for you guys. This literally was no work at all. Pretty freaking cool. My first attempt at doing something like that. Now, before I get carried away, I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Install it. Make sure we're using one that has... I'd install it from the bottom. I want to control the drippage. And if this doesn't work, then I'm going to have to use super glue, of which I don't have. I was going to buy it at the store the other day, but I'm at war with inflation, personally. If I'll see something, I'm like, that doesn't cost that. Super glue doesn't cost $6 It didn't 2 years ago. I'm not going to pay for it. So I'm like, I'll look it up on Amazon and see if it's cheaper. It really wasn't. So I guess at some point I'm going to have to get it. The same standard of modeling will now be expected for your terrain. I hope so, or I'm not going to be happy. It's kind of a reverse of that Vidal Sassoon, right? If it doesn't look good, I don't look good. I'll see stuff that's fucking amazing. There is some amazing people out there that do this stuff for free. They don't even do this for a living on YouTube and stuff. And every time I see something that can do that, I gotta up my game. Not like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I said, well, first of all, things don't look in real life like they do in pictures. They actually look better in real life. The human eye is incredible. It really is. Even with me being, has nothing to do with being nearsighted. It's how it grabs color and stuff. And no photo can reproduce that. And video just can't at all. So I think I was taking pictures of the Panzer threes and the Brummbär and stuff outside. And outside, normally things look better, but this Dunkelgelb color is just demented. You know, it varies so much in extreme ways with the outside light, the fake light, the natural light, your human eye, the camera, the video. They're all different. And you'll take a picture of it and like, that's not what it looks like. And you go, that's not what it looks like. And you take it outside, that's not what it looks like. And you film a video of it, that's not what it looks like either. You know, it's like, you just have to eventually, you know, I'll take like 5 or 6 pictures of something and like, I'll post one of those. That's just got to be good enough. I'm not a photographer, you know. This is what I do. So, yeah, there's a guy that posted a picture of, it was on one of the websites, it's on one of the Facebook pages I'm a member of some plane that he just did. And this is an adult, and I guess he's just starting. I think he said it was just starting, and it was like something I would have painted when I was 10. But I'm like, I'm not going to put bad comments. I'm also not going to kiss his ass. But, you know, you just have to realize, is it worth... There's so many resources now on YouTube. Every time I turn on YouTube, I mean, I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies because if I have time to watch something, I'll watch some brilliant person on YouTube sharing their technique and ideas for free. I don't mean me. I mean, you know, other people that just are incredible and just take something from that and like, you know, up your game. Every time you try to do something, try to do it a little bit better or don't. You know, it's your hobby. You know, you can make it whatever you want it to be. It's my therapy. I said, what is it that I like to say? I said, this keeps you from an extreme example. This keeps you from being turning into an active shooter. And I mean that completely in jest. But, you know, everybody's on so much medication everywhere. All you need to do is do some modeling and you're good. These people are like, man, I gotta take this. My job is excruciatingly stressful. And you need to take some I'm not taking meds for my job. If you have to take medicine for a job you've been doing for 3 decades, the job is the problem, not you. And I'm not going to be a drug user just because there's poor management above my pay grade at the place where I work. I'm just not going to do it. It's just a matter of principle. I am a man of principle. I don't know if there's many of me left. Just like I said, I'm not going to do something. I'm not going to fucking do it. Oh, you're never going to play DBA again? What did I say? I said I'm not playing DBA again. I hold myself to my own word. All right, let's see if we can do this correctly. I think the mistake I was doing was I was letting the fire actually start sizzling this. And we're not going to use this for the antennas anymore. That's fine. Ooh, there's an erect one. That should be enough. Too many people want to jump to drugs to solve their fucking problems. I was telling somebody at work the other day, I said, I'm pretty sure I'm never going to become an alcoholic. Well, how can you say that? I said, the last 3 months I haven't had a single drink after work. Now, if there had been a flask at work, drinking doesn't solve anything. Because you have to sober up eventually. Yeah, when I was watching that movie as a kid, I couldn't believe that Robert Shaw wasn't blonde-haired. I'm like, what the hell? So we're going to get a Hessler look-alike type tank commander in one of these guys. No, he's not going to be SS. We don't go that way. I am going to do SS troops at some point, but they won't be saving Europe from anything. I can't believe that. It was a Facebook group. I forgot what it was, and I had to leave it because I thought it was just like a military enthusiast type thing, you know. And they were a little too. I'm not going to say right wing because that's not. I don't necessarily agree that the Germans were right wing, but a two in favor of cleansing. Let's put it that way. It just didn't sit well with me, and I don't have anybody in my family. It's a member of those groups that would have been hunted down, but still, it just doesn't. It just that's no bueno. I didn't think that there was people like that. Like I've heard, oh, there's Holocaust deniers. I can't believe that there would be somebody who would deny the Holocaust. I mean, it'd be like the biggest fake thing ever, you know? That's a hell of a thing to fake. But saving Europe? Who are you saving Europe from? Communist? Sure, I'm in favor of stopping every single last communist, but not at the expense of exterminating your own people. That's like saying, "Man, the mosquitoes are bad. I know how to get rid of them. What? Light myself on fire." No, that's not a good solution. Okay, I wonder how this held. Yes, I gotta mess with it. I'm gonna pretend it's gonna glue down just fine and just leave it alone. But this plastic is definitely weird. It's definitely a weird ass plastic. All right, now how long was this thing when I did the bend on it? Maybe about like this. Let me go ahead and do this. It's so easy, it's satisfying. It really is. I wish I could do something with the hull, with the tools and stuff. I just don't want to spend $30 on and wait a week to get them. I'm gonna warning. I'm gonna paint these two King Tigers in a camouflage schemes you don't normally see, and that doesn't mean I'm gonna pick things out of the blue, but they're not gonna be bland. So I plan on doing one a base primer red and another one the base green, kind of like something like maybe these two right here. So we're going in uncharted territory. I think they'll be cool looking. Worst thing happens is I can't stand them and I'll sell them or something. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not a big risk taker. Let's just chop this in half. Oh, we've already hit rock bottom. All right, well, we need to cut this a little bit shorter then. Guess we didn't need the hot water after all. Good. I'll have to go. Hold on, let me go back and reheat some more. You know, I'm not British. I don't have a tea kettle. I do like tea. I just don't like drinking anything hot. Oh, you're drinking coffee? Yeah, over ice. I do like the taste of tea a lot. English tea even. Just, I don't like drinking anything warm. I'm hot all the time. Oh yeah. These models don't deserve this, but if I'm going to finish them, I'll at least try to do a decent job with it. And I like the fact that I made the ends longer so that it's, you know, it's wanting to open up. It's wanting to expand. And when I put it in there, you can kind of hold it in place until it dries. Because the plastic isn't that thick in the roof. And it would just fall through if I don't do something like that. So looks good from my house. I got my contacts out. I got plus 6.0 quality control check going on here. So, you know, even though I'm not a fan of totalitarian regimes and the Germans are bad guys and all that shit, and some people might be offended. Oh, what do you mean the German? I don't mean all freaking Germans. I don't mean Germans now. Get your head out of your ass. You know? I'm talking about, you know, the society of way back then. Not way back then. It wasn't even that long ago. Even though all that stuff, I have no problem with putting crooked spiders on my stuff. I just don't want to put it online because then you got to deal with these bots. It's not even humans you can negotiate with. Like, hey, listen, this is just for a historical example. Now, the bots will just manipulate your post, and then you can't post things for a while, and it just creates issues that you don't need. You know, you play a war game here, you're going to see some crooked spiders. Obviously, if on vehicles that it is appropriate on. I think it's important to show history as we think it happened. Okay, now, I still should have that drill bit in here. I remember when I used to build models as a kid, the MPC models were just airfix things. They all came with swastikas on the planes. I mean, I can see it being an issue in Germany. You know, they wouldn't want to give rise to that. I mean, that's kind of, you know, but anywhere else, I don't think anybody in Britain, you guys can correct me if you want, I don't think it's a problem in Britain. Model kits with a crooked spider on them. Remember, you gotta remember those rat bastards that did the Blitz and things like that. Okay, this isn't sealed completely. That's because we use super glue. Super glue's funny like that. I can't use the plastic glue. It's just not going to work on this. Not on this plastic. Let's see if I can get a little bit in there and close that up. You know, the Chinese can make things well if they want to. They didn't want two of these. But there's some Chinese stuff that's really good. S model. S model's incredible. All right. Certainly there's something here I can use. Actually, this tends to work pretty well, actually. A drill bit. I'm going to have to get up off my wallet. I don't do it just because it's cheap. I just do it as a matter of principle. I don't like paying for this New World Order inflationary prices that wasn't an issue 3 years ago. Wasn't an issue until people started wearing masks. Then, oh, we'll just sit at home and the government will take care of us. Yeah, how'd that work out? I need to get some water. I will be right back while I hold this. How many folks we got on here? How many silent folks we got on here? 3? I know you're working on your hobbies. That's what I used to do. I used to listen to talk radio and work on my hobbies, but I don't care about sports, never have, and I don't want to hear about politics. Because I don't like anybody. Why? Because very few people's heart's in the right place. That's one of my disappointments is becoming an adult. I realized that I was just raised that there's just some things you don't do. I mean, yes, you want to, money isn't the God that everybody should worship. I'm not, God, it sounds like a dirty socialist, but I'm just saying that, not everything's for sale. Not everything should be for sale. And for some people it is. People at work would call it integrity. I call it honor. I'm old school. Old school medieval shit, There's just some things you just don't do. So, in the last 10 years, for instance, I've just seen so many things that have just really surprised me. I wasn't anti-corporation or anything like that, but I've just seen corporations that just don't have their heart in the right place. It's all about money, 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 money. Hey, we're all here to make money for your employer, but, it's not all about money. Rust-Oleum bought out. How many buyouts have I seen? And lots of them I haven't seen. Rust-Oleum buys out testers, turns it to shit, ain't worth using. Not worth buying any of their products. Kept all the crappy ones. Got rid of the good ones. Didn't just say, hey, well, the good ones are expensive, so just charge more for them. And that's my beef with with games. Should I drill these things in? I'm gonna try it. I'm in a can-do attitude today. Let's just make sure we go perpendicular. I know you're asking, what the hell am I doing? I don't know. Maybe getting myself into more trouble than I need to. But these are already attached with epoxy. You guys had a good product, and I understand with inflation everything goes up. I don't like it, but nobody wants to buy any price for a shitty product. So just don't make the shitty product. But I guess they're just banking on people being suckers. That's what got me into buying an airbrush. Is Rust-Oleum buying testers and getting rid of their Model Master line. That's what I was all used for all of my sealant. I was perfectly happy with it. Been using it for decades. At least since the early 90s. Well, I'm going to drill these out too. Fast food used to be, it always was bad for you. It always was bad for you, but it used to taste good and be cheap. And now it's still bad for you. Some people might say even worse for you. But that's just health semantics. And doesn't taste good and isn't cheap. No reason to have it now. And incompetent too. I don't like going to fast food places. You go to a fast food place, you realize, man, I don't work with the dumbest people in the world. Others have them too. Come on, don't pull that epoxy thing out. Come on, you can do it. I don't want to have to fix something else. Still the order to do it in. You need to put this in. All right, now, if I take something like this and slide it in, I think I can pull this off. The problem is I'm going to need to use super glue, I think. All right, let's do one of these turrets. I think we can do this. I just got to make sure I push down on one of these little hooky things first. And then the turret will be completely done. I think that the radio antenna is actually in the... There's not a radio antenna in the turret, which kind of surprises me. Make sure I'm not touching something. And I probably could have done a better job with these little tracks. I mean, I could have trimmed them up a little bit better. But man, that would have been super anal. I'm gonna call it good enough. At that point, I would have just bought another kit and added I'll just throw this one away. I came really close to ordering a Zvezda one. just so I could mold the tools. But then I'm like, I'm going to have a different King Tiger that looks different from the other ones. And Zvezda, those Russian bastards, have this thing with not making any of the hatches openable. Like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, comrade? Okay. Now, let's test my theory. I got lots of these things. We'll move this one off to the side. I got lots of these things that are thickish. Okay, and we want them kind of thick. They don't need to be super deep. I do want them to protrude a little bit from the track. So let's just start with, say, this length. And I'm going to put one in and see if this is enough for it to get a purchase and be able to handle it with the tweezers and that sort of thing. I'm going to use my super glue. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to grab, might actually be too long, but I'd rather it be too long at this point than too short. Well, I wasn't expecting that. Let's put it in a different one then. Just slightly protruding. Okay, and the end of it won't be hooked, but at some point you have to say, okay, that's good enough. That's a detail too far. Let's cut this one down a little bit. Screw you, there's more where you came from. And where is that? Sprulandia. What I wasn't expecting is for it to catch in there. That hole was more restrictive than I thought. We're going to have to re-drill that then, if that's going to be that much of a problem. I think it needs it. I think it needs to do this. You need to do this to it. There's no hooks there. Okay. Okay. It looks to be open. Here we go. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll see when it's painted. I think it'll be okay. It'll look better than had I not done anything. So the question is, do I want to put this effort of time doing it? Probably, because this is pretty relaxing. The inside of this turret probably looks like an Iron Maiden. The Iron Maiden Panzer. Joke's on you. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And it'll look even better when it's painted. Hopefully. We drew out the other side? We did. All right. We need 8 for this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to use that one. 5, 6, 7, 8. How are we doing on super glue here? We still got enough? Put another splooge of it. First of all, let's move these out of the way so we don't pick one up in the folds of our skin and drop it all on the ground. That's just going to end up getting vacuum cleanered away. It looks like this is shifted is what the problem is. That one's shifted, which means this one's probably shifted as well. We're going to end up gluing that back down. That one's giving me so much trouble. There we go. Well, I'm not going to force that any more than it needs to. For whatever reason, that didn't like this one at all. I'm just going to cut that one off and move on. Okay. no trouble at all. That one was even less trouble. Obstinate, just an obstinate one. There's always an obstinate one. Make sure these holes are... Well, good thing I checked this one. Well, I was going to play some World of Warships this morning, and the internet wanted to be a little bitch and not connect me or the server or whatever, so that's normally what I do first thing in the morning. I sink a few ships in a corny little game that I spent no money on. It's a free game, so I can quit at any time. Disappointing there's no silence in that game. It's just something to putz around with for about half an hour. I used to be one of those people that could play video games for a long time. I can't anymore. It's not. I can do this for a long time. I'll feel good when I'm done with this video game. I'm like tired of being harassed by everybody. Well, you know, you're playing something where people are trying to kill you. You're being hunted. Just found out and started to play Undaunted Normandy on Steam. I've been playing it for about a week or two. I think 2 weeks. There's things I really like about it. There's things I don't like about it. I don't like that you basically, your characters I don't think can die. That's a little disappointing. I'm playing at the normal level. I don't play super easy and I don't play super hard. If I want more of it, I'll play super hard. I already have a challenging workplace. It's plenty challenging and normal. It doesn't seem like it, but you know, 30 missions in, it gets challenging enough. But I don't think your characters can die. They get knocked out and they retreat from the battlefield, but be honest with you, one of the main reasons I got it was inspiration for some of my buildings for the French countryside. That's one of the reasons I got it. Shameless plug. It looks okay. It reminds me of what my skirmish game used to be like, except in my skirmish game, it's you don't get to pick the order your guys go in. It's just like it's Frank's turn. I don't want him to go next. Tough titty, you know. Yeah. Let me see if I can snap a picture of this. It looks a lot better with these things stuck in them. I'm glad I did that. It took what did it take? Half hour? Yeah, it looks a lot better. I use my shitty picture taking skills. It's not going to be evident until the problem with those video games is like, it costs a certain amount of money. And as long as you get that kind of enjoyment out of it, it's okay. It doesn't. I mean, there's no game that was made 20 years ago that I still play. Everything gets old. So did it bring you enough joy? Then it was worth it. Now this is milliput. So let's see how this behaves. I prefer the green stuff, honestly. Maybe not the same game, digital version of the card-driven board game. Oh, Undaunted. I'm sorry. I thought it was. I'm sorry. I thought it was classified 44. I'm sorry. How is that? It's a cool looking game, but I'm sorry. I haven't had much coffee today. A million pardons. I got the card version of Wings of War on Steam. I got it relatively inexpensive, but they haven't. I don't think they've done. I played all the missions. It looks good, but they haven't improved it in a long time. Sometimes you just have to. You just have to get what you get out of it and move on. Yeah, you said Undaunted, and Undaunted classified. Sorry, I threw them in the same category. No, they're not anything like the same game. There's a 1-to-1 scale game that came out by, I want to say Compass came out with it. And it's like individual people, but the problem is that the houses are like 1 hex. So you got this crazy stacking. Yeah, I totally misread that. Sorry about that. As they say in Canadian. My whole reason to build Canadians for World War II is just because they can blow up a building and then they can say, oh, sorry about that. They can apologize for causing damage. Might be fun. Unfortunately, they use like the same uniforms as the British, so, oh man. I got a lot of British figures to paint. A lot of British figures to paint that I like how they look. Here's some cool looking figures. These combat miniatures, like the first manufacturer that, when they came out with figures for the British and the Germans, they both have the same amount of variety. Usually it's like, Germans, everybody's got, the same amount of troops, and then the Germans have like, hospital troops and, people on parade and, all kinds of extra. And there it goes flying. A bunch of extra stuff that the other nations don't get. And Combat Miniatures did just as many Brit poses as they did German poses. So that was kind of cool that they did that. Wish they'd done stuff for the desert. Undaunted captures the fog of war well. Lots of choices to make. Matches the excitement of the real game. On Steam, huh? I'm going to have to check that out. Although I've been using my computer pretty much only for this. And I'm actually okay with that. Keeps me from getting some kind of virus. You know, that's not even going to any dirty sites. I'm just saying, just from surfing around like paint schemes for, you know, king tigers or something like that. And you go to a site that's, you know, a community site, and you pick up something, you pick up some kind of nonsense. And I say that because that happened to me on my old computer. And it was a pain in the ass. The one game I had really high hopes for until I played it was Heroes of Normandy, as I really liked the way the game looked, except for the set that came out for freaking Kelly's Heroes. I want to spray this thing black today. We hit the ground running with this thing. So I need to fire up the airbrush before we go and do our errands this morning. That when we get back from the errands, it's nice and primerly done. Okay, and this Königstiger is done. And we already have the antennas for both of them. I'll need to go look for my spares to see if I have. I'm going to look that up right now. I'm going to before I go on a wild goose hunt. Let's find out if there's actually any geese there. I'm going to look up Plastic Soldier Company Panzer 3, so I know I have that one, and see what tank commanders it comes with. I don't want to order some. That's just, I can make do with what I have. So let's go. PSC 172nd Panzer 3. Images. Show me the tank commanders that come in there. Okay, here's the set. Well, he comes with his arms out. The question is, does he have a non-brimmed The 15 millimeter one does not, has a brimmed hat. Which honestly would be okay with this, because that seems to be a later war thing. Early in the war, they didn't have it. And I want a guy that's just kind of like, you know, posing, because my other commanders aren't that way. They're not cocky enough to stick their damn. Oh, look at that! Even one of my pictures comes up of my Panzer threes completed. Okay, well, I'm just gonna do this guy with a field cap then. This guy will be Kessler, not Hessler. You get an opportunity to do some funky numbers. Working on German forces for Lysychansk bridge scenario for nuts. Playing in a couple of weeks. Have a squad of Stosstruppen arm. Yeah. All right, let's make somebody's head spin and work on the Puma. All right, we need to do the weathering next. Let's make sure this super glue is nowhere near where we're going to go with anything else. We don't want to transfer that over. US field drive, US field drive. Iraqi sand. Look at that. I can find it. I can see colors. I just can't see. It's blurry. Is Nuts the one that uses card-driven results? I'm thinking of it's the one by Buck Sordo is the one that has that. And it's got a name like, they all start to sound like the same name. You know, I was having trouble remembering what the name of the rule set is. There's one guy that I know loves for World War II. I'm not a fan of it. Battleground, I think is what it's called, by Easy 8 Enterprises. Came out in the early 2000s. And it's unique in that the vehicle hit locations are actually shown. There's like a profile of each vehicle. Each vehicle has a data sheet. It's a D20, soft percentile. I'd much rather use percentile. Now, what if there's less of a 5% chance of something happening? I don't like things being dumbed down. I come from a background of percentile. I'd rather use a 1,000-sided die instead of a 20. For this, not for everything. For this. World War II deserves that kind of detail. Enjoyed Undaunted, might have to have a game this evening. Now you've mentioned it. Struggled to learn the rules for Nuts. I already have a squad and a half of Panzer Grenadiers, a Panzer 4D. Does the Panzer 4D have a little turret in the back, the basket? A 222 sniper, 251 and 50 millimeter mortar. Scenario from July 42, 16th Panzer Division. Nuts. I'm close. It's a workload issue for me. If I didn't come home exhausted, I would have already pulled out my rules and started messing with it. I have a feeling, I don't know what it is, that there's something I'm going to have to modify in the rules. I don't know what it is. And that's okay, because then I can put my own spin on it. Because I already have a name for them. So. Now, I happen to like doing my weathering on my tires back asswards is how it should be. So what I mean by back asswards is the stuff where the dirt should be is it should be in the holes and not on the smooth part. But it doesn't look right. It doesn't look right from 3 feet away. Stuff just ends up like smushing all together. So from a visual standpoint, I prefer doing it the opposite of how it is. So, artistic license. Ooh, these wheels are just, I'm fine with them being turned a little bit. They are all articulated. And I have, this is a two, this one was a toy. I got this one in the estate sale. But I have a model of, I have two models of the 231, of the 234/1, already built. I need to do the grenade things. That's it. Other than that, they're built. I built them at the other house. This one, I have one of the 234/3s with the short 75, and I have one 234/4 with the Pack 40. So we'll have a representation of all of them. This one's here. The 3's here. Yeah, this is a Rodin kit. Yeah, this will look pretty cool too. I like that it has a coax machine gun. That'll be handy. But you know, this is a good vehicle for a skirmish game because it's got wheels. Or tires, I should say. So these tires are going to end up, it'll be interesting to read and see how puncturable they are. You know, there's a lot of things that happen in a game that sometimes aren't handled properly. And honestly, I don't know how Face of Battle handles this. I've never played with vehicles. I've read the vehicles rules, they make sense. I've never played with vehicles. Well, one of the things that's difficult for a skirmish game to get right, for instance, is if you have a scenario where you've got maybe a squad or a half squad or something of partisans or guys that are primarily armed with small arms. And let's say they're ambushing this convoy. And the convoy consists of, you know, maybe a 222 armored car and, you know, a couple of Opel Blitz trucks, Kubelwagen, that type of thing. What kind of weapons can something like a Sten, what kind of damage within the game can something like a Sten gun do to an Opel Blitz? You know, when it hits the tires. Now, how does the game represent that? And do you feel that it is the proper representation? So that's one of the things I'm going to have to experiment with. And nobody's going to be able to decide that except me. I've got to feel like, okay, I'm going to go with how it's handled in the rules. And it's either going to feel right or it's not. You know, there's things like that. You know, when a 75 millimeter AP round hits an Opel Blitz, you know, not HE, AP round hits an Opel Blitz. How does it, you know, how does that get handled? When you have a Soviet tank that have a scenario that has a good intro scenario for this game, has two Soviet T-34s with infantry clambered on them, and they have to get from one side to the other side of the board. And they've got like a half squad of Germans at a tree fence line and a Pack 38. They've got to do it. So what happens when the Pack 38 hits the T-34? It's firing AP, and it hits the turret. What kind of collateral damage would there be to the infantry that's clambering on? There's got to be some. If the game just says there isn't any, well, I got to change that. It may not be severe, but there's got to be some effects of it. So, you know, I'm willing to, this is no more DBA tournament crap where you just have to take the ugly pill and swallow it. You know, it's going to be like, that doesn't seem right, so we're changing it. I'm prepared to just game this myself. I'm not doing this for other people. If other people want to join in, well, cool. But, you know, not going to be at a convention or something like that. You know, if I don't like you, you don't get to play with me. I mean, this isn't really for people that aren't like World War II zealots. You got to pretty much be a World War II zealot to be able to appreciate this type of detail. Now, we just added the first of the color here. And yeah, that made the tires look a hell of a lot better. Now, this has the fake muzzle brake. The muzzle brake's totally wrong on this. It's supposed to be two-chambered, like a Panthers is, and it's not. It has one chamber. So I'll just have to overlook that. It's a Marmite system. Not Vegemite? Yeah. If I run my game for other people, it's going to be co-op. It's I'm all about the narrative. All about the narrative. I don't care who wins, who loses. Doesn't matter. What kind of movie moments are going to happen in this? All right, I'm going to take the Racky Sand, do the same thing. And I'm just doing it as an excuse to paint this stuff up. That's what I'm interested in, is painting this stuff up and learning about these, even more about these vehicles. Just real light here. This kind of nice detail for a damn toy. So that's why I actually got the French Partisans, because I think that that's ideal for people to play. You know, they're all individual. They all have personality. And they're equipped with a variety of weapons. And you only need to run 3 or 4 of them, each person. Now, next thing on this is we're going to do some, we're going to paint the tools. And then we'll do some black lining. I don't like this going over the tools. It makes them blend too much for my taste. Now, one thing I didn't do on here is I didn't do what I like to call scratches, so we'll come back and do that. And I just do scratches in a base color. I don't go and get the chipping. I honestly don't. I got really mixed feelings on the chipping. You know, these are war game models. I don't want to enter some IPMS thing. I think it's too much. I don't like the look for me. So it's also a good way to say, hey, I'm already doing lots of detail to it. I don't need to add more. But it's one of those things that if other people do it, it looks okay. If you do it yourself, it looks terrible. I don't know. Maybe that's just... Let's see how this looks put together. That looks really good. It'll look even better blended. I look better even with the tools on there. All right. Do you even want to do any scratches? I don't know, maybe. We'll see. What do we got here? I tend to see a set of rules, a toolbox that can be purposed to suit my style of play. Thankfully, a game with at least one like-minded friend. I've only read the rules and made notes. Jeffrey, that sounds like where the game went wrong. We'll take your advice. Get a few figures out next time. Yeah, I got to relearn how to play mine. I don't like games that abstract anything. I just don't think that way. I just don't think that way. Yeah, the game I'm going to play is not in it hasn't been published. I don't know how long it's been out of publication, but it's not being published. honestly, it's probably a good thing, because I can do with it whatever I want. You can always do whatever you want, but everybody focuses too much on like, hey, what rules do you use? Like, and it just depends what detail do you want to see. One thing that's important for me is that grenades. It is all about grenades. Grenades are an important part of what you're talking about, man-to-man combat. That if you have a figure that's this tall, that the grenades don't go out only this far. That there's some kind of a proportion between the figure's height and how far the grenade gets thrown. Because you have to have the deviation too. So you can't have like minimal deviation. It's got to be like significant, so it makes a difference. So the distance you throw the grenade. So basically, I'm playing in like actual scale. It's a 1-to-1 scale game with a 1-to-1 scale ground distance. And that's just what I want. I've played other games before. I played rapid fire. That's just not for me. That doesn't paint a narrative that I think is interesting enough to listen to. And I've done it before. I've done it many, many times. I'm actually okay with a 1-to-5 scale game. I've played it so much with command decision that it seems natural to me. But I'm not putting this kind of effort into these models for command decision or rapid fire. It's not worthy of it, in my opinion. Okay, I think that's good for now. We can always tinker later. Let's do the black lining first, because that's super satisfying. This is the new non-oil. Let's use the old one at first. That's super satisfying. Actually, we have a couple black things we have to paint. Where is? I'm sure it's still out here. Yeah, I noticed they released a new game too. And I was watching some guy's video of unboxing some of the stuff, which I'm surprised so many of these people are sponsored by these companies. It's not something I'm interested in. Not that I've been contacted, because I don't want to take orders from anybody for my hobby. Like, you got to do this next. No. Okay? I would do whatever. Of course that happened. I got to do things in the order I want to that provides the therapy that I need. Having another boss that doesn't pay me is not my idea of a good time. But if other people want to do that, that's good. But I saw this guy doing these unboxings, and for a second I got excited. I'm like, that looks like 20 millimeter, but I guess it was really small 28. If 20 millimeter wasn't a thing, of course if it wasn't a thing, I wouldn't have gotten into it to begin with. But I would go 15. I'm not doing 28s. I'm not a 28 lover. I never played any games that were 28 millimeter driven. No, I do like what Rubicon Models does, where they give you a shitload of different markings in each vehicle and a bunch of different versions you can do. Kind of nice about that. This thing has 2 shovels. I don't think I've ever seen a vehicle with 2 shovels. The ubiquitous jack. And I'm doing all this late war stuff, but I like the early war stuff better. It just so happens I got this stuff from the estate sale, you know. I'm like, this is what was for sale, so I prefer my Germans in gray. But I think I'm in the minority. I think a lot of people like this Dunkelhell. Welcome to Dunkelhell. Mr. Waddy, welcome. Had me on in the background. Can't wait to paint those King Tigers. Pull off some weird colors and make them look believable. It so sounds like an insult. You ubiquitous jack. I want to paint the front of the dischargers black, but I don't think that they were. It's not Enter Fantasy Island just yet. Agua. Cigarettes and chocolate. Chocolat. Cigarette. Chocolat. Let's pull this off. I really do like the concept of painting something that is technically a piece of crap and making it look good. Because anybody can make not anybody, but it's just a better, like somebody was saying the other day, they didn't like so-and-so models because they're not challenging to build. I don't want a challenge to build a model. I want a challenge to paint it. I'm still a painter at heart. It doesn't mean I don't like building stuff. I had a lot of fun doing those little hooks this morning. But these are available on eBay for really inexpensive. I don't remember who the hell makes them. They're made in China somewhere. I ended up getting this thing from an estate sale this guy had. And this thing was, I think it was unpainted. And and actually, this black lining is not something I've done with all my vehicles. My early vehicles don't have it, but it's easy to go back and redo them. Like all my check 38s, just go ahead and do them and just seal them again if it really bugs me that much. And I don't know that it will. I don't know that it will. It just adds more contrast. And I'm a big fan of that. I think contrast is king. I don't want my vehicles looking like 1/35th scale models. There's not enough contrast in them for my liking. Okay, engine deck. Don't talk about my deck. That's nice. And it looks even better when you seal it. I don't know. It's the magic of sealing. You know, you do stuff like this and you appreciate the nooks and crannies, the detail that whoever made this mold decided to put in it. It's really pretty cool. And instead of just like wash it and then, hope to God somebody notices it. The game looked kind of interesting as a one made by Compass or whatever. I can't remember what it was called. It was just tanks on tanks. But once I saw it, it was like, okay, 1 T-34, an Su-85, a KV-1. I'm like, yeah, okay, those all didn't serve together. So just seems a little too hokey for me. I just always expect people that design a game about a subject I'm really interested in should have insight or better or more knowledge about the subject than I do. But I'm probably just wishful thinking in that regard. You ubiquitous jack. So yeah, free ebook for that Gravitine Tactics campaign near Cursed. It's got the direct translation of real Soviet and German documents, original maps in it. Is that game worth playing? Now, as much as I love 20mm, as much as I love games with a lot of detail, I can appreciate a game that's in 20mm that's maybe a little basic, because I still get the look at 20mm tanks. The one true scale. Back when I started getting into World War II stuff, you're talking about skirmish stuff, there's only really were two scales. 1/72nd or micro armor. That was it. 15mm hadn't done World War II yet. Or if it did, it was, in a closet. I'm one of the few people in the States that does this scale. I'm with you, Britishers. Best World War II Battalion Company Scale Tactical Wide Game. Yeah, I wanted to get that. What is it? Steel Division? But it just seems like that's going to be a real-time stress out. I played like what's it called? Operation Red Dragon or something like that. It was a free version by the same people. And I'm like, I like how this game looks, but it's not my kind of game. This reminds me too much of like dealing with the lemmings at work. I think it's just going to cause frustration. Something like Close Combat's right down my alley. I don't feel Close Combat's rushed at all. The guys can fight on their own even if you don't go and, actually click on them. They're not, complete idiots. Only partial idiots. So I went to the super bookstore last weekend. Really didn't buy anything, but I went and rebought a couple of e-magazines of War Games, Soldier, and Strategy, which, sometimes magazines just kind of make you salivate towards, oh man, I wish my stuff looked like this. Okay, this thing looks fucking excellent. And we're still not done. This looks fucking excellent. I'm glad I kind of turned the corner into just painting my own numerals lots of times. You know, I know the Germans were Nazis about using stencils, but and it looks better with stencils. But you can't just keep slinging order this and order that, and more decals and this, that, and the other, and forget the cost. Although the cost is a factor. The waiting for it to get here, and I got to stop this because I can't finish. Just F it. I'm just gonna paint it, and it looks good enough. Like I said, the look I'm going for is kind of like a graphic novel. They don't need to be ultra realistic. They don't need to look like a joke either. How about a realistic joke? It's very slow paced and graviteme. It's really made for sort of give general orders, so it's not telling each section to man a particular building. Ping the book in the face. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. And that's that's a time period that isn't well war gamed. That's post Kursk, but before the winter. That time is just there's not a lot of people that focus on that stuff. It's like August 43, right? So the Germans still have some Panzer IIIs running around. I'm looking forward to doing some tank duels with this game, because this really should show the difference of the crew fighting conditions in each vehicle that I don't think most systems even touch upon, and it's such a huge factor. Okay. Two shovels. Well, he got two drivers. That gives two of them to do something. White should be out here. I put it away from last night. That's a white camouflage. That's going to be my next challenge. We're going to do some white vehicles. The problem is I don't want to go down that road because just yet. Because I think I'm really going to enjoy it. And I got a soft spot for Vintage better. I don't care about bulge and shit like that. And I like the gray vehicles with the... I have a feeling that that's just going to be a whole lot of fun. This particular one is July 23rd, 43. So right after Kursk. They're trying to shore up the deluge that's coming. The red deluge. It's that time of the month. It's the red deluge. Would you expect anything less from me? Oh man, I'm gonna have to tell the wife about that one. It's a red deluge. There's a relatively new book that came out. I don't know, remember who it's by, but the premise of it is that the Germans didn't take as many casualties at Kursk as people think, and that they were able to repair everything. Well, I don't know. I haven't read it. Don't really want to read into that kind of finicky stuff. Is a little too. I don't know. Maybe if it had it on Audible, I'd look into it. But surprisingly, German documents mention that there's no problems with supply. Even when Soviets broke through and surrounded some elements, the Germans managed to reach cut-off units. It also mentions a special order for all units to supply food to any stragglers that show up with another unit. I mean, Kursk was the first operation that the Germans had limited air supply, right? I mean, air support. That's pretty much the last time you're going to see German vehicles with the recognition flag on top of them. After that, they're like, well, we need to keep a low profile. We got way too many Yabos and Sturmoviks flying around. Damn, this thing looks good. I mean, I knew it had a lot of potential. The model. It's a freaking toy. It's a pre-built toy with no options for the hatches being open. Because this would be great for having a little guy with little binoculars, just little head sticking out. Now, antenna on the Puma. Ah, there it is. The Samovenka bridgehead. Russians had a hell of a time getting their guys not to wear steel helmets. They always like those little caps. You think I'd enjoy the game? I'll try it if it's on sale for Steam. It's been around for a while, but that's okay. Close Combat's been around a long ass time. Okay, Puma. Puma Highway car. This is one that this body is steel. So if the antenna was in the body, I'm not drilling into steel. It is a nightmare to do that. But fortunately, it's on the you know, it's funny. You'll have some vehicle like this. This is a beautiful vehicle that somebody did in 1/35th scale of this Puma, and it has no antenna. Like, dude, all you had to do was add an antenna to it. Yeah, it's back here at the back. Well, it looks like there's another one back here on the. Well, I'm only going to put one. This is from a video game. Who knows if that's accurate? Armored car drawing. We'll go about twice the height of the turret. That's good enough for me. No reason to be that anal retentive about it. I really should look into getting some bristles from a brush and just use those instead of this. Just because they got more bounce back, but this is working okay for out. Check out page 87 for Soviet tank losses around a 12 village. Oh, I will. Oh, good. This hits the bottom of something, so we can hold it in place. It won't slip on me. I'm going to put it about right here. We're not using those. Not using the Tamiya cutters, but these pizza craps. Old clippers. Old ass clippers. Where is... Not that. This. This will go into your... I've made myself bleed more by pieces of wire than I have by an X-Acto knife. The ends of these things are brutally jagged and only noticeable after you put your damn finger in there. Okay, what is this? Where does this hit? Does it hit the back of the bottom of this? Yes. Okay, good. So I can go ahead and what does this inside of this look like? I want to put a dab of, I don't want that thing continually moving up and down. So let's mix a tiny little bit of epoxy and secure those two things, and then this will be ready to seal along with these other vehicles. We'll have a seal party. We're going to use this device. no doubt we're going to have to tinker with this as it dries. The biggest advantage to not putting my contacts in is that when I take a photograph of it close up, I'm gonna see. I will have already seen what I see. It's not like, oh, that doesn't look very good close up. You know. How am I getting with those airplanes? They're on hold right now. I need to clean this stuff off my desk. You have not seen me do anything. I've not done anything that I have not shown you online. So wherever I left off is where I'll be when I come back to them. Honestly, I've been taking kind of the path of least resistance due to my work schedule. My only concern is they're going to take up a lot of space in here. That's really my only concern. And it's not a big one, it's just something to consider. Okay, that's okay. That's okay, that's okay. Alright, we'll leave that like that for now. Looks pretty good. So these guys are ready to prime. The two King Tigers. And I'm going to prime the other Panther and the Yag Tiger while I'm at it. Seal these 4 vehicles. You know, it's sort of worth me saying I should look at every hit after the battle and see what weapon penetrated a vehicle and where. Wow. That'd be fun to do with somebody. You know, but alone, it's like, it'd be cool to like talk about it. There's a guy that does naval videos on YouTube, and I don't know how the hell to say his name. Something like Dragnifel or something like that. You guys probably know who I'm talking about. And he did, I think it was him, he did a video on the Sailits, and he's done it on several vehicles, on several ships, where he goes through and has this model and goes through like the Battle of Jutland and circles on the model, or actually puts where the hits are on the actual model. That's pretty freaking cool. And a shit ton of work. It's a big model. It's not even a 700 scale. It's like a 350 scale model or something like that. That was pretty neat. So yeah, seeing where the hits happen, that's pretty neat. Okay, well that's where we're going to leave off. I got to go do something with the missus this morning. So, yeah, we got to do let's take a picture of this Joker. That looks pretty freaking cool. For like a $4 toy. Well, I paid less than that. I think I got it for $1. I think I got $1 worth of enjoyment out of this. What do you think? Now here's my old Panther. I'm going to take some good pictures of it. It doesn't look half bad. I don't know whether I'm going to refurb it. The ambush scheme actually turned out really well. This is all done with a brush around probably 1996. But I got half of mine just to primer over it and start over. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's a G. You know. It looks like it's painted by somebody different than these other ones. But, you know, I didn't like dry brush the base color back over it. You know. Nordic's Nightmare, yeah. Sometimes you just got to grow a pair. I don't know that he dislikes it. I think that he dislikes it that everybody's a fanboy of it. I think it's stupid that it has only a 2-man turret. But I like all the kitty cat things, except the Hellcat. The plain Hellcat, I don't like the plain Hellcat. It's not attractive. But all the other cat things I like. The Puma, the Lynx. Don't like the airplane Hellcat. It's not attractive. Especially not in late 40, not in 45 when it was like overall like this color. Not exactly, but you know what I mean. It's not a fan. Not dying to build one of those. I may just do it just to get outside my comfort zone. Yeah, but there's a scenario of Heroes of Panzer Lair, and I actually painted a little Panzer Lair symbol on there. What the heck, you know? That uses one of these. So, I don't know, I may modify it or whatever. It's just kind of inspiration. I'm not going to run scenarios exactly the way they necessarily say to do them. So, okay, folks. Well, we will see you. That curve was designed for the Panzer II replacement. Yeah, it didn't work out for him. They didn't have to replace any more Panzer. They needed tanks that could do a little bit more damage than a Panzer II. Okay, folks. Well, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for stopping.